So here's what you must understand about MLS, Major League Soccer. And let me start with kind of a story of how I came to understand this professional landscape of American soccer and also a current situation that's going on right now here at the end of 2017. Um, when MLS came about, I was young, is it just turning 10, 11, 12, and I was happy because it was professional club soccer, um, and the soccer specific stadiums were starting to pop up. Some notable players were coming over, and uh, I grew up watching American professional soccer when it was a lot less professional. It was still there were still paid players, but the stadiums were smaller and the leagues were smaller. It was in the mid '90s when I started to watch American professional soccer. So that was right before MLS. So it was very much an upgrade, and it was finally something that Americans could hang their hat on. We have club soccer like the rest of the world. We looked the part. Now we had the pro clubs that played in big stadiums or their own soccer specific stadiums that looked like English Premier League stadiums. So I thought we were golden, and then it was just going to take time to get better. I believed that myth that soccer was a baby sport, that it was going to take decades to grow into something big here. I later realized just the opposite. Here by about 2014, 2015, that's when I really woke up to how we have a huge soccer culture here in America, but I was rooting and rooting and rooting. I would spend time watching MLS as much as I could, especially over streaming services. It was a lot less accessible a decade ago than it is now for viewership. So, I was pulling for it. I was giving it a chance, but then it started to dawn on me. Well, why isn't it turning the corner? What's it going to take? I kind of saw this pattern of, we're just kind of repeating the same results, particularly with the CONCACAF Champions League around 2010, 11, 12. I really started to look over the track record of that in terms of American participation, and it was like, well, each year we go in there and we get spanked by these Liga MX sides or Costa Rican sides, and the gap didn't seem like it was closing at all. These MLS franchise outlets were consistently getting spanked. So I looked back over the record and it was like, man, 15 years we haven't won this thing. I think it was 2000 the last time an American team has won the CONCACAF Champions League. So it's pretty remarkable, the drought there. So, and that's the real barometer when you want to look at, well, how is MLS doing actually? Because of course you can look within yourself and say, oh, we're doing great. It's getting more competitive, and we have better players, and the games are so close. There's so much parity in the standings, but you can't accurately measure unless you look outside of yourself. And so, I thought to myself, well, if I really want to know how far we've progressed with MLS, Major League Soccer, we've got to look at these CONCACAF Champions League results. So those became the games that I really, really paid attention to, and I was seeing the consistent pattern of MLS outlets just getting destroyed by these Liga MX sides and other CONCACAF sides. So then I started to ask deeper questions like, oh, well, how are things really set up in MLS? What's the structure like? Are we really on a course for achieving our American soccer potential with the way things are set up in American soccer? The thought of things like promotion relegation had come up in my mind before, but it didn't click to me that the system policy, the competition format, is directly linked to the vitality and success of American soccer clubs and the American soccer industry as a whole, the profitability of it and the accessibility in it. So when I started asking the tough questions, I started to take a closer look at the structure of MLS. What will you hear on the surface from MLS, or what will you think about it? Um, the one of the things everyone needs to understand in American soccer, and this is kind of why I decided to go on this rant or talk about my story with MLS. Fundamentally, the one crux issue that everyone has to understand in American soccer is that MLS is not it's a league, but in reality, in function, it's one single club or company. So to say that MLS is like the English Premier League is false. The English Premier League is a league which contains independent clubs, 20 independent clubs that 3 of them move down and 3 new ones move up in the whole English FA pyramid. But the English Premier League is an actual league structure, just a container league. MLS is one single club. Players have contracts to play with MLS itself. They are the club in reality. So we really have just one single club sitting inside of our American Soccer Division 1. So when you think about it that way, that's kind of weird because we just have one club with exclusive monopoly on D1 and 9,000 plus other U.S. clubs permanently locked out with no relegation or promotion. So that starts to raise some eyebrows, and maybe we're onto something here with the way things are set up in American soccer. It's a single entity, so the way to think about teams in MLS is like a chain of Burger King restaurants. It's all one single Burger King brand, MLS. And then Burger King has different locations all throughout the United States. So in your local area, for example, my area, Minneapolis, it's got Burger Kings all over down the street. You've got one a couple miles away, and they open and close at a whim. So that's why I call them kind of franchise outlets, because really they're just franchise outlets of Major League Soccer, just like a Burger King is a franchise outlet of Burger King corporate, or the restaurant chain as a whole. So that's kind of the fundamental structure of MLS. And then they call themselves clubs, but when you it's misleading to say that you're clubs, because it's really not. It's not an independent competition between individual businesses. It's it's one company, one club in control of Division 1. And I think it intentionally kind of makes you think that, oh, it's not so bad. If you think that it's like the Premier League, where, oh, these are the 20 clubs that have the financial wherewithal to be a Division 1 club, so that's all we can handle for now, and we'll accept more clubs in as they come in, or as they're ready, infrastructure-wise. And hey, we're just the gate, or we are the destination for clubs to build themselves up to. But what happens is with the MLS expansion, it's not clubs staying independent and jumping into an MLS league. They are essentially being absorbed by MLS. So, for example, in my area, Minnesota United was in NASL D2. They were an independent club. Granted, they were not quite a fully fledged club because they were locked out of Division 1 and CONCACAF and World competition, but they were still independent, autonomous. And they made the move to MLS. So essentially what MLS did was absorb, Minnesota United sold their brand for that expansion fee to MLS. So MLS now owns the Minnesota United FC brand, and Minnesota United is just now one part of the one big fabric of the MLS company as a whole. It's just another franchise outlet located in Minnesota in this case. So when you think about it, like when you look at the MLS structure and the U.S. soccer structure as it is, the fact that we just have one single company ruling over our marketplace, the industry, essentially U.S. Soccer, our governing federation, has declared this one single company the permanent winner in the industry. So anyone else who challenges is not going to be able to overtake them because the prestige and the access that Division One gives you is only available to this one single MLS company. So it's really kind of cruel when you think about it, and it's unjust, unfair, however you want to put it. It's wrong when you think about it like that. So it's important to understand this distinction and to educate people on it. The distinction that MLS is just a single company. It has franchise outlets, but we've given our Division One to one company, and 9,000 others are left with no incentive to invest and to build in the U.S. soccer industry. And we wonder why we struggle, why so many lower division clubs die, and why there's so little growth in the lower divisions. When we look and say, hey, America has such an awesome soccer market, we love foreign club soccer, well, what gives here? Why doesn't anyone pay attention to American club soccer? Well, the answer is simple. We don't run our system the same way. It's a completely poisonous industry for 99% of those who want to participate. And another thing, what I wanted to bring up was that there's a controversy with the Columbus Crew potentially moving to Austin, Texas. This whole Save the Crew movement. I understand that fans are disappointed in Columbus, but in reality, it's just MLS deciding to close down one outlet branch, Burger King Columbus, and they're deciding to open up Burger King Austin instead. So they're not stealing a club per se or moving a club, an independent club that we talked about. They're just deciding to close an MLS branch in one city and open one in another. So it's not as cruel as when you think about the actual move MLS is making here at the end of 2017. You need to first understand how MLS is set up before you start complaining too much about what it's doing. We are the ones who've accepted this MLS-only system here in America. So open the system up to 9,000 clubs. It's that simple. Let everyone compete. The reason industry stagnate is because is when competition is closed off. If we declare Chevrolet the winner in the U.S. auto industry and don't let anyone else compete, the automobile production will struggle. We won't get as good of a product. We won't get as many of the products. So an open market stimulates investment, stimulates interest. As soon as we make that switch, make that one policy change, we will see a night and day difference in the popularity and success of American club soccer. So if you like this video, make sure to share it out on social media and also subscribe right here to my channel, and I'll talk to you soon.